In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still back.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Whoa! Oh, Mason.
Well, that was interesting.
I just want to wake anyone up. Maybe that's a little.
Oh, they're awake
sleepy.
now. Yeah, they're pulling out the
sleepy.
earbuds. They're
Maybe
like,
if you're
"What the fuck
driving,
was
maybe you're
that?"
dozing off.
Dozing
you're
off. We woke you up.
swerving. Here,
Ready
and
to go.
it'll probably save some lives.
It will.
To be honest,
It
because
will.
driving sleepy is just as dangerous as driving drunk.
Yep. Or driving and texting. Never a
Yes.
good thing.
That's a little PSA that
PSA announcement. Yes.
that the local police officers
Yes.
did make us do. We
and
didn't
my
want to do
Esther
that.
did back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's right.
But what are we here to talk about today, Mason? It's something I'm pretty excited about.
Well, Cash, as you know, it was a slow week this week at the box office.
It was
there wasn't
nothing.
there was nothing coming out this week. And it was your turn to pick a streaming film.
yes, it
And
is.
you picked this little gem called Snowpiercers, which I saw.
Snowpiercer, not
Oh,
piercers.
yeah, sorry, Piercer.
They're
yeah,
just piercing
Snowpiercer.
it once.
Yeah, just one, just one. Yeah, there aren't multiple trains going around.
No.
But I saw previews for this, and I saw a poster for this a few years ago. It was on my list. It's been on my
Yep.
list forever, and I've never watched this film. And this is why I love this podcast so much, because it forces you to watch things that are in your list forever that you're like, oh yeah, I'll never get around to watching that, even though it looks interesting.
Oh yeah, and this is a movie that I've seen multiple times. I love it. It's one of my favorite. It's a South Korean movie. It's actually a foreign film.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Directed by a South Korean director. He's directed a ton of things, but this is his first English film that he did, and but he's directed a ton of stuff. I can't remember his name was. It is Bong Joon-ho, and I'm
Bong
butchering
Joon-ho.
that, but yeah, he's directed a few other things. Have you seen Okja on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. It's a really good film and went straight to Netflix, but it's good. I like it a
Really?
lot. It's kind of sci-fi, but
Is
almost
that OUJA movie?
it's OKJA.
Oh yeah, okay,
Okja,
yeah.
But yeah, it's if you haven't watched it, it's good. All of his films have that. They're dark, but they have that dark kind of humor that I like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and this film has that too. But yeah, what did you think about it? This is the first time you've seen it, correct?
Yes, and the entire time watching this movie, I kept just trying to look for little subliminal messages, in because it almost felt like a classes kind of film.
Oh, it's
When I mean
100%.
like classes, I mean like the poor, the middle class, the wealthy,
Yeah.
and the train kind of represent society. You know, I kind of started thinking of all this in my head, and I go, man, maybe this movie had a deeper meaning.
Oh, it absolutely
behind it.
does.
You
It's
know, and that's one of the reasons why I actually ended up liking
it's
this film.
classes where it's classes down to its bare bones, where you can literally point out where the poor and the rich start.
Exactly.
By train cars.
Yep.
Well, let me get into the premise of this.
Yeah.
In 2014, you know, and I know that the director did in 2014 specifically because, well, I mean, climate change has always been a big deal, but it's really hitting him. But he made it in 2014. Global warming is a big deal. It's a big deal, obviously. And to help combat global warming, scientists tried to create this machine.
Yes.
Of course, scientists, they don't do anything right.
No,
They're always
they're always
half-assing
doing
it.
terrible things. It's not tested out or anything.
But they make this
It's called
machine.
WH7 or H7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
And
gas.
it ends up backfiring big time. It
Very
causes, it works a little too well.
Ends up freezing the damn planet.
We ended up combating it a little too much where it ended up causing another ice age and it wipes out. It's a big fuck up.
They did. Yeah, it was a huge fuck up.
It's as big as it gets
Oh.
in the science world. It ends up wiping out everyone.
Everyone except the people who made it on the train.
The only survivors are passengers of the train Snowpiercer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a massive train, and it's a massive train.
It's a massive train that literally goes around.
And we're not saying it's not just long, massive, but the
Yeah.
cars in themselves are huge.
Huge.
There is a aquarium in one of the cars.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a great, and the whole design of I can't speak enough, but the whole design from the inside and the out of the actual train is amazing.
It is.
The way they made it old school look, but the inside with all the different cars being all these different places. Some of them are like gyms, some of them are saunas.
So, yeah, some of them are like weird, like
But it
furry
looks-
couch setup places.
Yeah,
It's
some
all
of them are
completely
just
different.
libraries, but it looks so good. It's
does.
it's so real, and even from the very back of the poor,
Mhm.
the scum is what they call it.
Yeah.
But this train was invented by this giant magnet named Willard. That's all we
Yes.
know of. And can we talk about the cast in this movie for 1 second?
Pretty damn good cast. We'll pull
My
up the
God,
list.
Chris Pine, Tilda Swinton, who's probably the best female character actor there is.
Yes.
By
And you know what? I had a feeling that was her, but I was like, man, that looks so much different than her. That can't be her. That's got to be
she
someone
had to
else.
go through.
And it was her.
She had to go through hours of prosthetics
Yes.
to look like that. I know she doesn't look anything like
No,
that.
she doesn't.
And she plays that character just fucking perfect. That's
Mhm.
a character that you're meant to hate, and man, do you hate her.
Oh, you hate her. You hate Mason. You really do.
Yeah, Mason. Yeah, and Ed Harris is in it.
Oh my God.
It's
How
got
do you not love Ed Harris?
it's got pretty much everyone. It's got who else was in it? As Sir, go down a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Sir John Hurt, who's been in a ton of many things. Many
Octavia Spencer.
Octavia Spencer, future Oscar winner.
Yes.
Yeah, but Sir John Hurt, because he has been knighted.
Mm.
Gotta
Okay, you
respect
gotta give him
that.
that credit. You gotta give him the
But
credit.
he's been in many post-apocalyptic type of movies, kind of
Yes.
dystopia, V for Vendetta, and stuff like
Great
that.
film.
Oh, it's an
Great
amazing film.
Natalie Portman. Good work.
But just a star-studded cast all around. You keep every time you see someone, you may not know the name,
Yes.
but they look super familiar.
Exactly. Like the teacher that I brought up before the
The
podcast started,
teacher
Allison
and the
Pitt.
guy who gets his arm hammered off. I've seen that guy in a
he's
million
in
different things.
everything. Yeah.
I think he's in. He might be in Train Spotting. That might be the thing I know him most of. But he's been in a lot of different British things.
Ewan Bremer.
Click on his-
Bremner.
yeah, he's been in
Yep. He's in
Train
everything.
Spotting. Yep, of course. That's definitely
Wonder
my most
Woman,
famous.
Alien versus Predator. He's in a ton of stuff. There's a lot of iconic. I mean, not iconic. That might be a little big, but he's in a lot of well-known roles too.
Oh yeah, but there's a
film.
lot of iconic people with Ed Harris and William Hurt and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and Tilda Swinton. It's crazy. I mean, people. What I heard is once this guy or the director came out with the film, people were calling him to try to get. I think who was it? It was like Jake Gyllenhaal tried out for a role and didn't get it.
Mhm.
There's people.
Dustin Hoffman
Dustin
was also
Hoffman.
considered.
Yeah, there were people calling him to which doesn't happen very often.
No, not at all.
But there were people calling him to get auditions for
Mm-hmm.
it as soon as they heard it, which must have been it must have been a great script.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so we fast forward and it's the year 2031.
Mhm.
And all the passengers they're living the privileged life. They're up at the front of the train. That's where you want to be.
Definitely. And it's been 17 years they've been on this train.
And you do not want to be on the back of the train. It's damn near. It's like Auschwitz, but on a fucking train.
On a
They're
train that you cannot
crammed in
escape.
there. No, you can't do anything.
No.
And they feed you these gelatin
They're called protein bars. That's all we know right now.
And I love, again, all the set pieces are all amazing. Everything about this, and even the protein bars look horrible. But they
And
eat them.
Yeah, and they did a good job of representing the quote unquote scum.
Oh,
the
yeah.
kind of the community that they had there, where they were all kind of suffering together. you know?
Absolutely.
And we see that with like Chris Evans' character when he goes up to the little boy and he's like, "Okay, I'll give
Yeah.
you the ball. You can play with the ball for 1 hour. Just give me the protein."
Because they only got one ball in the whole god.
Yeah, I know. That's how poverty
Yeah,
stricken
you got to
it
move
is.
around the ball. I mean, the ball is a big
Yeah,
deal. I don't even
it
know how
is.
they got that ball in there, but
You get one rec hour with the ball a month. If
but
you're
yeah,
lucky.
so it's horrible in the back of the train.
It's not good.
It's horrible. And the leader of the
And
back,
we
the leader
find
of the
out
back of the
soon.
train, is Gilliam,
Gilliam,
who's
Yep.
played by John Hurt, of course, and does an
Sir.
excellent job. Sir John Hurt, my
There you
God.
go.
But,
Don't let it happen again.
Yeah, I won't. He'll be here.
He'll be here.
I'll have
right?
the Queen calling
No,
me. We don't
no,
knight these guys for
yeah,
nothing.
no.
You please have some respect.
As a matter of fact, I haven't used the phone in 5 years. I'm just pissed I gotta call you right now. So
But yeah, I just love apocalyptic movies for some reason. Everyone's got their own idea of how it's going to play out, and it's always but how it's done and what people kind of resort to, and how resourceful people are once the shit hits the fan.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even know until you get in that situation.
Oh, yeah,
and you go, damn, you really got to use everything. You
But
got to use all your brain power.
But
all
the train,
time.
the Snowpiercer, it is on a global track, and it takes a year to route, and it's going all through. It goes through everywhere, pretty much everywhere through Europe and Asia. We get a quick map that shows the track later on, but it's 1
Very
year
brief.
for one loop.
Yep.
And we find out later that Willard is just fucking loves trains. Just the
Big
weird kid who loves trains. Always an odd kid.
Yeah.
But of course, when you grow up and be a giant train magnet, I guess it ends up working.
Kind of works, yeah.
But yeah, so they're living the shitty life back there. I don't know how most of the things are working back there. I don't know where the bathroom is on this place. Doesn't look like they have one.
Doesn't look like they have one, honestly.
But they're all living in shitty fucking cots, and we introduce to Chris Evans, who's really the titular character in this. He's Curtis Everett.
Yep.
And he plans on moving up in the world.
He's tired of this back of the train bullshit. That's kind of his.
Yeah,
thing.
where they're throwing all their trash. I don't even know I don't know why they even kept that train.
No, I have no idea.
But I guess we do find out later that, or we find out later that they use these train people, the scum. They use them for many different things, especially taking their children.
Yeah, they're very useful and resourceful because we find out, towards the end that they even use the children.
So maybe every once in a while, when like a
fucked up
janitor dies or something, you might get a call up.
Might
from
get the
back.
call up
That's
to the
the
big
best
leagues.
thing because we get
That's actually the best thing that happens because we do see that with the violin player.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, he gets called up.
Yep.
And later on, he gets called up, and another guy gets called up who's the guy that making the protein packs.
Yes.
He ended up maybe not doing so well after.
No, he might have went a little stir crazy, I'd say.
Well, it's this thing where it's like they brainwash you to because
conform.
Because these people, because these people at the back of the train, it's classes, of course, but these people at the front of the train don't even look at them as humans.
Humans, no, they're
they're a lower level,
yes.
So they're there for one thing, and that's to work or for pleasure for the front.
And when Mason comes in the very first time, the general, the lady, when she comes in the first time, she talks about how every person has their place, and she does a hand motion that everyone else does, right?
She's
where
just like
everything has their place. How you can't wear a shoe on your head, that a shoe goes on the feet. You are the shoe, and it goes on the foot.
She's telling her. She's trying to explain it in a way where she thinks they'll get it, where she's really good, because you could tell as soon as she walks in, she thinks these people are just dumb as like monkeys. Like you really got to show you no shoes go on the feet.
Yeah,
they don't go on the head.
It's like teaching a toddler
to
tie a shoe.
No, not on the head. And maybe she was just also telling them that shoes do go on your feet, guys. You can't be wearing.
Just to let you know, because a shoe went flying. It hit someone in the face recently. Yeah. It wasn't a good thing.
But we also get because Tilda Swinton, she steals the show, man. She's
great. She's great in this role.
She's the best. She's very scary. But the two guys that she's walking with are the whole thing is it's just set up where it's very odd and weird, but it's very cool too. Those two guys are so fucking weird.
They were like leaning up on
they're
each
like
other.
Lovers,
and stuff.
but like they don't talk, but they're like sadistic, really weird, but tough as nails. Those guys.
Definitely. Goodness gracious!
You can't
it's like
kill
the
one
Terminator.
of them.
Dun 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 dun. He just keeps resurrecting himself.
But yeah, so she's with two guys, and she's kind of got to show a little force when she's back there. So someone's got to get an arm taken off.
And real quick, right before the arm thing, right? Because he did throw the shoe at the girl in the yellow, which is a second to Wilford.
Yes,
second in command.
Oh yeah.
The girl, and then she leaves, right? But the violin thing was interesting to me because the guy said, "Well, can my wife go?" And they go, "No." Then he goes, "Then I'm not going." And they turn around, and the soldier takes the gun and hits his wife right in the face.
Yeah.
And then crushes her hand.
Oh, yeah.
And forces him to go. And it shows you just how brutal these people are, these people who are higher up, and how they don't look at these people as human.
And they take their kids. They also take their kids during the scene, too.
They take everything
They
from
take
these
Octavia
people.
Spencer and the guy ends up getting his arm. They not only the little more salt in the wound, they end up taking his son also.
Yeah, they take his son, and then all he does is throw a shoe, and they put his arm in the slot.
It's so
that goes
funny
outside
that
for 7 minutes.
in Wilford's because in Wilford's mind, because in this train, and it's so cool, but everything is worked out. Like the writer of the movie has worked out everything where the train, everything has a system. Because it's all, they're running it forever.
Yes.
But he even had the mindset to install the little tiny porthole in the back, because every once in a while they're gonna have to.
You got to torture someone. You got to let them know that, hey, you disobey our orders.
Yes.
This is what happens.
Yep.
And it's that fear. It's that common fear tactic.
And it worked. It works for
it
me.
definitely
It worked for me.
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah, it
so
works for me. I'm
and
gonna
it's
take a
so
seat
cold out, and I love also how tactical Mason is for everything.
Yes.
She knows 7 minutes immediately, and then when the revolt starts, she knows immediately what percentage of people aren't going to make it. 74%.
She says exactly 74%.
74%, yeah. And she even knows that a percentage of the front are going to die also. So she even knew that percentage. So everything is, because you have to be. If you're going to run a train forever, it's got to be a well-oiled machine.
Well, it can't be overpopulated. It can't be overpopulated either.
No,
because everyone starves to death.
But yeah, so they get, but she ends up taking the kid. He throws a shoe. He's not happy.
No,
about
he's
it,
not.
obviously. They don't like the shoe throwing. Not a big fan of that. He gets 7 minutes outside of the train. Turns out you want to be inside the train most of the time.
At all times. You know how they say keep your arms and legs
It's for
inside
good
the
reason.
vehicle.
It's
Yeah,
for
it's
good
for a
reason.
very good reason.
Because it's so cold outside, and they're moving so fast also that it
Yeah,
only
they're
takes
holding,
7 minutes for your arm to turn to an icicle.
completely frozen.
Yeah. But you don't get a
And-
hold on your arm frozen. They end up hammering it.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, after Mason gives her 7-minute speech about the shoe and all that, they take his arm out, they lay it on a table. They take this giant square sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And
It's
all
kind of
it
like,
takes is
it's kind of
one
the
swing.
hammer from Midsummer.
It is.
It's the wooden
That
giant.
yeah. And they smash the arm and it goes to pieces. That is how cold it is. In 7 minutes, your arm is entirely
But still
frozen.
looking pretty painful because the guy's not happy about it.
No, he's not. He's screaming in agony. I mean, I could imagine how painful that
And we have to say right at the start, Gilliam also doesn't have an arm.
He doesn't have an arm or legs, doesn't he? Isn't a leg missing or something?
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair also. Yeah, he's taken some hits.
Yes.
And at least the first time when I'm watching it, I was thinking that he got the arm punishment.
That's what I thought too.
Okay, yeah, that's
Initially.
what I thought too, yeah. But later on, we ended up finding out that's not the case.
It's not the case at all.
Unfortunately, it's much, much worse.
Much more gruesome. Much dark, man. This shit's dark.
That's what I love about this movie. It's so dark, but sometimes it's hilarious. It's just the bizarreness. And the bizarreness of all the first class, how like when things are happening around them, it's like it's not happening.
No, it's just like
They'll run through it, but it's business as normal. They're just so programmed to do what they're told and whatnot that they're thinking if this is happening, then it must be happening for a reason.
For a reason, yeah.
And
no one even questions it. Not one person in all those carts questions it.
And they worship. We didn't talk about this, but they worship Willard like a god.
They do, and we really see that in the teacher.
Absolutely,
In the
and the
teacher scene
kids.
and the
and
kids.
The brainwashing. That
Yeah,
that whole
definitely.
classroom scene is a great scene.
It is, and it was very. That was the first time where I'm like, man, in a lot of ways, this is like one of those weird cults.
Oh yeah.
You know, where it's like, oh, Mr. Wilford this, Mr. Wilford that, and that's like, you kind of look at that and you go, oh, that's how
it would be.
how evil nations are born.
Oh yeah.
Like the reign of the Nazis and stuff. You know,
And
where
if
it's
someone,
that-
and if the entire population was dead, and this man who had the foresight to think about this, and he came,
basically
he
the
came
modern
down
day-
and saved you. He pretty much is God.
yeah, it's the
On
modern
this
day
world,
Noah's
he
Ark.
is God. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If for global warming,
And
it's
on that
Noah's Ark.
train, what he says is gospel.
Yes.
So I mean, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna, and you barely even see him. So he's almost is like this.
He
You
is,
never
yeah.
see him actually.
No,
he's a
no one sees
shadow
him.
figure that you're not even sure. It's almost the point where you're not even sure if he really exists.
Well, it was hilarious too when Mason was down. Just to go recap back a little bit, and she goes, when out at the very end of that 7-minute speech, she goes, "Oh, Mr. Wilford, Mr. Wilford.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a busy man," as if he was going to talk to the scum.
Yeah, exactly.
Give
No,
me a
he
break.
rarely ever does. He rarely ever goes down. Or he rarely leaves the engine. But we find out that Chris Evans, he's got a big idea. He's gonna go all the way top, and he's gonna.
He's been planning this for a while too.
Yeah, he's gonna take charge of the train, and the train's got some crazy engine. It's like a perpetual motion engine. It runs on like physics or something. I don't even want to get into it, but it's something crazy where it's like. But it works for me because it's been like, I love when writers really think out even the smallest details where it's like
Yes.
this train isn't just running on magic. It's like this nuclear powered nonstop motion.
And they get into it how the train retains water from the front.
Yes, exactly. And I
Like,
love
it
those
goes
little
through-
details.
Yeah, it
I
goes through
love
everything.
those little
because
details.
that was initially the questions that I had, and throughout this film, they all got
Because
answered.
you're thinking a train, I can't imagine a worse thing.
I know, right? I'd rather be somewhere else.
I'd rather be
or
on a
something
boat, I
else.
think. I think I'd
Yeah.
be rather on a boat. But a train that's constantly moving, but it runs like the train runs on its own motion. It's lightly explained, but it just the fact that it keeps going is what also keeps it going. So it has to I feel like as soon as the train stopped moving, it would just break down.
Yeah.
So it has to keep going. But Chris's idea is he's gonna go and he's gonna take it. No one's ever been up to the front. No one's ever been past the scum.
Yeah, I think they only got like 1 or 2 doors.
Yeah.
The 7 did. Remember,
Yeah.
the 7 got like 2 or 3 doors up. And then
Yeah.
we see the 7 later. They didn't make it too far outside.
And that's another cool thing where they end up making that like a holiday.
Yeah.
Like a warning. Like every year you see the 7, and they made it about. We'll just talk about it, the 7. They were the only ones to ever rise up and get out of the train or
Yeah.
get past those scummy cars, and they got about 30 feet.
And they froze to death. And they froze standing up in their place, too. And I like how they didn't do a close-up here. It was like the train passing. And as you see them, you just saw 7 like
I
little
know.
figures
It's like
standing out
it's like
there.
going up Everest. Apparently, when you go up to Everest, you just see
Yeah, you see bodies.
bodies everywhere because they're
Isn't-
frozen in
no.
time. They're frozen.
And
Their
they're
last
done.
thing they're doing. Yeah, and they're up there forever though.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I know.
can't bring them
So
down.
You see
Yeah,
bodies
it's
everywhere
crazy.
up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's very
But
strange.
you're like you said, we barely see it, but it's like the thing where they're like almost like monuments now. They're not people. They're this warning. Like remember, you only get 20 feet.
When you think about it, you never thaw out either, so you could be frozen up there for years. There's people up at
hundreds
Everest.
of years.
I've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
I've heard stories of people up at Everest who are in like 1990s clothing
oh
who've
yeah,
been dead
yeah.
for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, they say it's like going kind of like through a time machine because everyone's wearing like Shaft T-shirts
Exactly.
and like 93 Bulls gears.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they end up taking the small children, right? And the minister, because Mason is the minister of the train, so she's the second, right? And she ends up breaking the guy's arm off, and they and right now, the rebellion's hot.
No.
The fuse is lit.
Oh yeah, people are pissed. They're tired of this.
And it's almost a thing where it's like I didn't think about, or they never talks about it in the movie, but watching it now, I'm thinking that Willard sent Mason down there to start. It makes me think that she was sent down there to spark something, because the whole thing is that.
Well, yeah, we
spoiler,
see that
we're
at
getting
the
into it
end,
later.
yeah.
Is he kind of wanted well, he actually needed
Well, he
it.
needed it
Yeah.
to make sure that the numbers were correct. And I'm going to back up your point by saying that Mason also knew that as well, because she said exactly 74%. She knew.
Oh yeah,
She had the exact
that's right,
same
exactly.
as
Yeah.
Gilliam, so she actually knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But see, what I find interesting is after they got past that point, do you remember Mason started to panic and freak out? She really started to get scared because I think she realized in that moment, oh shit, they're past where they were supposed to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and that's when
yeah.
she starts fearing for her life.
Because
remember?
because she's stone cold and throughout the entire
The
thing.
whole time,
I mean,
and-
she knows exactly. Even when they're fighting, I love when they're all fighting, and she'll just stand behind them and start talking
with the binoculars
and be
too.
completely normal, like
Yeah.
just like normal as day. But yeah, exactly. I think they knew the entire time that this was going to get it, because they end up finding out that they're closely watching everyone.
Yes.
Like they even know, like even
They
though
know
they're
the
all shitty, they know the
names,
names
the
of
background,
everyone.
yeah.
How many kids you got and everything. Because it has to be. It has to be that well-oiled machine, and that's all that fucking Wilfred does in this train is calculate. But yeah, and that kicks off. That kicks off the rebellion, right?
It does.
Curtis initiates a plan the next time that they are fed, because they have to bring in the cart.
Yes.
So it
and
opens
it's
up.
foreshadowed that every single time they do the count too, where everyone sits down, every row sits down.
Yep. And Curtis realizes that none of the guards have any ammunition.
Mhm.
He knows that their guns are.
Because Mason said, "Put that useless gun away."
Yes, and that.
When Gilliam's walking forward.
And that's maybe where Mason screwed up. Maybe she gave him a little too much information.
Yeah.
Because she is human. But yeah, and they end up taking over. Or the passengers easily route them, and they take the security and prison cars.
Yep.
And we end up finding out that Gilliam's like helper. I don't know what this guy was. Remember the guy?
Oh yeah, the guy who's and the giant guy who's swinging the thing, and he just runs up.
This guy is the biggest badass. I loved it when
it's like the parkour.
Because remember they get the pipe going so they can stop all the
way
cars.
through,
It's pretty much like a giant
doors.
log.
Yeah.
And Gilliam, the head, he just nods over and he tells the guy, "All right," because they're at a standstill because they have this giant guy at the very end.
And he's swinging, he's killing people.
We gotta find out what's that kid's name. I mean, not his real name, but what's his name in the movie? Because he keeps coming up, and he's the biggest badass of all time.
Franco the Younger?
No, I don't. That seems Franco the Elder. Yeah, I don't think that was him.
Oh no. Was it this kid?
Oh yeah. What was his name in the movie?
What was his name in the film? It was. Come on, where are you at? Gray.
Oh, it was Gray. Yeah. He tells Gray like because they're at the standstill. He just tells Gray, and it's such a bad. And the fight choreography in this movie is amazing.
It really is good.
The fight scenes are super good, super
intense
well
and gory too.
Very gory, very real. But I love one of my favorite scenes. He just nods at Gray, and Gray runs up shirtless and just fucking gets that guy in a triangle.
He does. Pretty good move.
And stabs him, and then
pulls up. Yeah.
And the guy
through the sternum.
And it's almost the Troy. Remember at the very beginning of Troy when they call in Achilles. To kill the guy. Mm-hmm. But that's the scene.
Yeah, when he's coming out of the tent with the two women, he's like, okay. And he like throws on his gear and then he kills him.
Exactly. Yeah. It's badass. And everyone knows when Gray comes up because they all kind of separate. And he just.
I know. It was so funny because everyone's just kind of like, okay, I guess Gray's up.
Yeah, I know. And you don't want to wake Gray up.
You do not. No. He is trained to kill, and kill he will.
He comes in big because what was the weight on getting Gray in the fight in the beginning?
The weight?
I mean, the weight to send him out.
I know. Send him immediately. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you got you got your secret weapon, you got to hold him.
It is true.
You got to keep that card.
Sometimes you got to sacrifice a few too, because at the end of the day, Gilliam did know. Because he was a part of Wilford.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so he did know. So maybe that's why, actually, is the fact that he held him back a little while to let a few of his die to hit those numbers.
Absolutely.
So very smart.
Oh, yeah. He knew that they were the sacrifice because he also knew that there was a certain amount of people that were going to die also. Mm-hmm. And I think I think Curtis probably knew that as well.
Yeah.
But I think he had pretty good faith that Gray wasn't going to be one of these guys. Gray seems like he's been training the last 17 years for this mission.
Good Lord. Like, this is his day.
He's been waiting for it. He can't be that old.
No, he can't be.
He's probably a train baby.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But, and he gets up there and they just fucking tears through them. And eventually they end up, we got to talk about, they end up breaking out the old train security guy, the guy who's been hiding. They just kind of like stowed away in like the past. They just all right, we're gonna put you.
That was so weird.
I'm guessing he was just kind of asleep.
A sleep chamber.
A sleep chamber thing, because and he also has a clairvoyant daughter.
He does.
Because it's this crazy thing where like they've been on this drug called Chronal.
Yeah.
It's some future drug that if you have enough of it, you can pack it into a bomb.
Yeah, because it's highly flammable, and they bring that up many times throughout the movie.
Yeah, not only is it going to get you high as a fucking kite, my guy, you're going to be feeling good.
And these two love it. And they agree inevitably to take Curtis for every gate that they open. Instead of one block, they get 2 blocks of Chronal.
And that's the only way you're going to get, because the guy... what's his name that they break out?
Namgung?
Yeah, I think they just call him Minsu, and his daughter Yono, and they end up breaking them out because he was old security. I'm guessing he just became a drug addict, and they said, okay, we gotta put you away for a little bit in the bread drawer, or whatever the hell they put
bread drawer.
It was so weird. Remember,
it was weird. They pulled him out. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like
you're ready to go now.
Bodies in places, and those little pull-out things.
Exactly. And he has a 17-year-old daughter also.
He does.
She's an odd one. She's addicted to Kronos just as much as he is, and it's giving her some kind of ability, I guess. But the group continues across.
And I love that scene, too, the scene with the marble cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And he has not one. He has 2.
2 left.
And they've been extinct for over a decade.
Yeah.
You remember everyone saying that?
He lights one up right when he gets out.
He doesn't even smoke it. He just flicks it right afterwards. And then he punches people. I'm like, damn, okay, this guy's a badass.
He's ex-security, head of security. So, because he does it, man. He ends up fighting everyone. He ends up fighting Curtis.
Because he knew that was a good distraction, too, to flick that cigarette. Everyone's after that.
Yeah.
And then he went for the attack. Good move.
He's a badass. And I love his whole character's, and he doesn't speak a word of English.
A word of English, no. Which was so funny because he just kept staring at him. He's like, are you him?
Yeah.
And then finally he just
Well, he's been
casually
sleeping the last
reaches.
7 years.
Yeah,
You probably got to give him a second to
no,
wake
give him a
up.
wake up. That's a hell of a snooze.
Not only that, but he's been on chrono the last.
His brain's fried already.
But no, it works. I mean, they end up getting in every car right,
Mm-hmm.
with that guy, and they end up going past the protein block, which is a rough.
Rough go around because they meet their old friend who used to be part of the scum, the last box
He got
train in
moved
the
up.
back, and he got moved up to provide the food for the scum for the last. And there's a pretty horrific discovery that takes place.
Yeah.
One of the guys goes up on top and he goes, "Ah!" And then Chris Evans goes up there and they look down and they see that they're
It's a
literally
guy that
just,
can draw everything.
yeah, draw everything, yeah. And they literally just see
It's just
massive,
cockroaches.
yeah, cockroaches,
Just
grasshoppers,
Any
just
bugs that would be
crickets,
living in on the train or in the.
and they're just grinding them up and just making these blocks. Of
And
just
what's coming out of the
bugs.
conveyor was, and then you see back, and they're just
They're
chopped.
all, yeah, like it's the best
Because they
food
only
ever.
get fed like once every a week or whatever,
Mhm.
and they all have to ship. But so now they finally have enough supply of protein blocks where they can just eat it.
Yep.
And Chris Evans turns to the guy and says, "Don't tell them," because I mean, yeah,
No,
they
why
have to eat
would
it.
you?
They
Yeah,
have to
they
eat
have
it.
to. Yeah, you're not going to starve. I mean,
No.
I'd rather eat a bug than starve to death.
Absolutely, but the reality of that, and that's what they're feeding him to. Again, just like animals.
It's better not to know.
Just absolutely. But again, maybe if you're starting a revolution, maybe you're like, guys, come look at this. That might get some people fired.
Yeah, yeah.
But they
More
are
likely
all
to die
starving
for
because
your
you
cause.
you also need them to eat too. And I'm not sure if they're eating after they're finding out. Why not just dip your
You
hands
also
in
need
there,
your
grab
soldiers to be strong too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they end up going past the protein block, and again, they find out that it's just bugs. And unfortunately, he opens up the next car.
Yeah, and Yona
Yona. Yeah.
tells him not to.
It's a very cool scene because as soon as she opens up, it's kind of so much she goes, no.
and then
And it's just 100 guys in
All
fucking
masked guys.
murder suits.
yes, murder suits. They've got
All
got
carrying
knives,
axes,
shanks,
yeah.
axes.
But they're all wearing vests and they're all geared up. Like, what was that their guys' job? Are they just sitting there in that car
just
waiting?
waiting forever.
It almost has to be because it's like even the car was designed where it was like a torture room.
Yeah, it was. It was just a clear room essentially.
But
the
they're
way
all,
through.
and it's the best fight scene for sure because
pretty
it gets
awesome.
brutal because it's a very tense moment where they're all standing each other and they're all waiting for one guy to make the move. Oh, and they do the cool fish thing. Remember the guy hands him the
Yeah.
fish at the start and he bleeds it and
Cuts
he
the
hands it to
fish,
so they
yeah.
already have blood on there. I didn't look into that, but I guarantee it's got to be some kind of
Definitely.
old school tradition or something of maybe a gang thing. But yeah, they do it. They bleed the fish and then they just fucking go at it, man.
Oh
It's
my
a
gosh.
bloodbath.
It's a brutal scene.
And it's a great
Brutal
shot,
fight
and it's
scene.
shot in slow motion, and it's shot beautifully, man. And this is the one time where I'm like, this is where it's okay to use CGI, where it's that CGI where it's just like you're hitting someone and it's just spraying,
Yeah.
but then you're using real blood for the spray,
Mhm.
where it's just that small bit, because it was that slow motion where he kept chopping, and then you just see a spray, but it was really dark, and so you can barely see it.
Yeah.
But then everything else was really covered in blood and stuff. That's when I'm fine with CGI, when you're using just barely enough. But the rest of it was real blood. Everything else was real blood, and it becomes a bloodbath on that train.
It does.
But I love it because at some point they all stop because they're about to hit a landmark, the bridge. It's New Year's. Remember when they all start and they all start cheering?
They're cheering, and then the guy who's like almost
I
dead
laughed
there,
so
he's like, yeah. He's like on the verge of death.
I
and
like
he's
he's got
like,
his guts
Happy
hanging
New
out. He's
Year.
like, happy. And that's the dark comedy I'm talking
It
about,
is,
where
yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And he's just, and I loved
And
it.
it's also that brainwash too, kind of like
But it's the thing where it's like everyone stopped to have respect for the new
For
year.
the new
Because
year.
it's like, I mean, really, when you're on a train, I guess you keep your holidays because it's 1 year around the track. That's one more year you made it. I
oh
guess.
yeah, and I mean you're the last human beings on the face of the planet.
Because even what's Curtis's second in command? We barely talked about the kid, the young kid,
Edgar.
Edgar, yeah. Because
Yes.
remember Edgar, he looks over me, he goes, "I hate getting
I
older."
hate getting older.
He's just
yeah.
laughing, just like it's another birthday.
Yeah.
And then they just go right back at it, and it's looking good.
At
It's
this
looking
point,
good for
yeah,
the
it's
rebels.
looking like they might prevail here.
But then they all
then-
start kind of laughing.
Uh-huh.
And then the guys are like getting a little too happy about it. And then Mason, she's in the back too. She's watching the whole thing through binoculars like it's just a normal
One
day.
right before we get into that next scene, they throw the knife, and the guy with the hammer blocks it just in time.
Yeah, those guys
She
are
goes,
bad.
"You're gonna regret
man.
doing that."
Yeah.
The evil.
And then
action.
right at the middle, the guy throws the hammer.
Yeah.
And doesn't hit anyone, but
No.
he wings that thing 30 feet, man. That
does.
guy's fucking strong.
Fucking heavy.
But
hammer.
everyone kind of stops when he throws the hammer, and then she makes the announcement that there's a tunnel coming
Yeah,
up.
Yona whispers in his ear. She's like, "There's a tunnel up here." And
A big fucking tunnel.
Yeah, big
She
fucking
says-
tunnel. Yeah.
And then the guy, because the guy that doesn't talk at all, she kind of translates. He's like, she says, "You guys are fucked."
Mhm.
There's a big tunnel, and then they immediately crawl back into crawl spaces because he knows what's coming.
Right. And then they all pull down night vision.
Night vision.
Because it's about to get completely dark. And I gotta say, at this moment, my heart sank because I go, "Oh, that's game over."
It's such a cool scene too, where it's shot, where it's completely dark, and then
Mhm.
we get the view from the night vision goggles, and everyone that doesn't have them, it's very well like they're all just swinging around.
Yeah,
acting
they
like-
have no idea what.
But the guys
what's
that do them,
going
they're
on.
just casually stabbing them every once in a while. It's very well shot. And then we get probably maybe the best shot of the scene in the entire movie is the torch carrying scene. When he
Bring
yells
the
out,
light.
"We need light!" And the one kid is probably just the pyro of the fucking.
Oh, for sure.
He lights it up, and I love it. They hand
Yeah,
it,
they hand it to the
and
guy,
and
who
it's just like
lost
an
his arm.
Olympic torch, and
It
they're
is.
all pumped up.
That was the
man.
first thing I thought of too. Was the Olympic torch.
But they're all super excited. They're all cheering for it. It's a cool scene,
It
and
is.
and they keep running, and then we get to zoom out, and the night vision goggle, he like barely sees it, but you just start seeing these little tiny lights, and it's like everyone's got a fucking torch now. And then they start running forward, and they start throwing the light. And this scene was shot very well, and I looked it up after, but no extra light was used in that scene for that train car scene. It was
Really?
all natural torch light.
Wow.
Yeah, so all
That's
the light
cool.
they were using
That's
was
really
that. Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It's cool because it makes it that much more real. Where it's
Yeah, it gives it that off.
and the only light was that scattered light where they were still fine, but the guys in night vision goggles were fucked.
Yeah. Because you can't have any.
No,
I mean, it hurts.
It
yeah.
hurts. Yeah. But then they finally start taking it back and they start killing everyone. And fucking Gray gets a knife to old Mason. He takes a risky. He just wanted blood on her, man. He takes the dive. He could have got hit right there.
Could have been game over.
But yeah, he takes the dive and he gets her in the leg.
Yep.
And the conductor or whatever her job is, she takes off.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm out of here. Peace." It's been real.
But and at this point, Mason's bodyguards, they're also fighting them too. But Chris Pine sees this and he
Chris
goes.
Pine. Chris Evans.
Whatever.
Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis.
Yeah.
He sees that Mason is down and he goes after because that's
Well, but he has a choice because Edgar's being held up by one of those two weirdos.
yes.
One of the bad guys, and he looks at Edgar, and he had to make a choice.
He
there,
had to.
and he ended up going after Mason.
It's the smart move.
It is.
Every time.
It is.
Mason is the number 2 in command. You got Mason. You got the fucking train.
Exactly.
And he knew that there would be sacrifices, and everyone knew that there would be sacrifices. And Gilliam told him that there would be sacrifices, and that when that time comes, you have to make. And honestly, smart move. If anything, he could have went and got Mason, and hopefully that guy wouldn't have killed him yet. And you could say we can exchange. But
yeah, we get
but Edgar fucking tried to break free.
like an idiot.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time,
And it was
I
also
would
that thing
too.
though when Edgar started seeing Curtis leave, he got the thing that
He's
not
like,
coming
okay, I
back for
get
me.
it. Yeah, this I'll never be saved. This is it.
Breaks through, big guy ends up just stabbing him right in the back, kills him. But
And
they got the
no-
upper
No,
hand.
like farewell scene or anything for Edgar. It was kind of like, well, back to the drawing board.
well,
everyone.
he did. Remember Curtis? He did look at him.
He looked at him, but
and then,
yeah, it
and then he
wasn't like
looked at
a-
Mason. That I was fucking pissed now. But
And that
'cause
was awesome. And she's like, let me help. I can figure this out.
I know, because remember, well, at first she's like, "You'll never get away with this." But as soon as he threatens her, she just fucking folds.
Yep.
Oh, those rich 1%ers, those top of the train people, cowards,
Yep.
all of them.
Well, and I think that was where it was supposed to end, right before they go to the teacher. That's where it was supposed to end in Gilliam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think that was where you're talking about. That's where the rebellion was supposed to end.
Right, because everyone dies, and then 74%, that should have been it.
Yeah, it shouldn't have gotten to the teacher.
No, it
to the
shouldn't have.
teacher cart.
No.
It should have ended right at the murder cart. That was
yeah.
the whole reason. I'm guessing that those guys were fucking prepared and
Exactly.
ready. But once they got Mason, they got everyone to lay down their arms because she's in head, and yeah, and they keep on moving. They chain her up. They're thinking about killing her, but of
They
course
are.
they need to. They need to keep her alive. And and they end up getting to the water cart. And they all can take showers for the first time. And thank God, because I can only imagine the smell of that.
The stench of the scum
you ever been on
must
a-
be awful.
If you've ever been on a
Unbearable.
public bus, That's just for like 20 minutes. Imagine living for 7 years.
That pungent, fucking BO smell.
But I like it a lot because Gilliam kind of rolls up. And Gilliam, he's kind of like the Gandalf of this group. Because remember he goes wash off the war. That's what he tells all of them. Yep. It really means wash off because they're covered head to toe in blood.
And they don't know whose blood it is at this point.
No, it could be. It's half of their friends and the half of the people that they wanted to kill. But yeah, and they capture Mason. The next day, they keep on moving, and they go up to they start going to the upper class cars. Mm-hmm. First they go. It's pretty cool. They go through the aquarium room, which is fucking cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
They get sushi for the first time. Mm-hmm. Not only are they keeping those fish, but they're eating those. And
that was also a great scene too, where Curtis was like, "No, you eat this. You know what it is." To Mason,
and he's still carrying around a protein bar. Yeah. Of course. What do you think he's gonna let her eat some goddamn sushi? You eat this shit.
Yeah, this is what we've had to eat for the last 17 years.
She does, and apparently I read this that Tilda Swinton was the only one to actually like the taste of the real protein bars. It was a mix of like seaweed and like gelatin and stuff you can actually eat because all of them had to actually eat it.
Yeah, of course.
But apparently everyone else said it was just all right, but she fucking loved it, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, because she does eat it in this. She does. She takes a big old bite out of it. Fast forward, they get to the classroom car with all these little fucking cult kids, and they're all doing the Willard sign, and they're learning because it's been 18 years that they've been on the Willard train, Wilford train, I should say.
It was very, very eerie too, and strange, and like that stereotypical like 1950s, everything's perfect, but at the same time, this is like super. You know what I mean? It's like and it's
that combination of the post-apocalyptic thing where like. You stop worshiping people and things in post-apocalyptic, but you start worshiping like motors and engines.
Yes.
Like remember, like I love it because in Mad Max, all the boys and stuff they worship the engine. They all do the 6-cylinder hand. Yeah. And I love because that's like a common thing. Most popular, you start worshiping the things that keep you alive instead of like money and stuff. And in this matter, they call the engine the sacred engine. And they make
and then she plays the video.
And they make it sound like it's a person, like it's replaced. And that's like the real God. You got to worship the engine because the engine keeps you alive. Yep. Keeps you running.
Well, they even have that stupid little song that they were singing, and then Mason turned around, that little video. I love that one. Like, yeah, I'm sure you do.
And we even get the sense that because these kids are all being raised to think that, because remember one kid stands up and he's like, "Oh, these fucking scum people." He's like, "These." Because remember Mason was like, "Oh, kids,
they're
they're
okay.
Nice.
They're nice people. Yeah, they're gonna kill me. Keep them out.
Shut the fuck up, kid. Seriously. They're gonna kill me." But yeah, we get that, and the teacher ends up being a real ice queen.
Yo, yeah.
You gotta think smarter if you're pregnant. But they end up, and it's also fucking like egg day.
Well, it's cool, yeah, because that guy wheels in the cart.
Yeah,
and it's all full of eggs, and she gets a special.
And can we talk about the guy wheeling the egg cart? Is he meant to look like an egg?
I don't know. I think that was kind of the gaff.
Was that for his job? He had to look like an egg already. That's hilarious. I laugh every time. But yeah, he's wheeling a big cart. I guess on New Year's you get eggs because chickens are supposed to be extinct. Mm-hmm. So how the fuck are they making these eggs?
I have no idea. But then again, maybe chickens aren't extinct.
Yeah, and they just
because
remember the egg guy was like, someone's like, he's like, I thought chickens were extinct, and the egg man, I don't know what else to call him.
What he is.
He's like, yes, there's lots of things that aren't extinct that you don't know of, and then we find out that
they've got aquariums, they've got all these animals actually,
and they also have bullets.
They have bullets too. Yeah, it's just you got to go a little bit farther up the train,
which they thought were extinct also. And also, Curtis during this, he gets a note in the egg. Because someone's been sending him notes this entire time.
Random ones. And normally
in the protein packs, but now it's sending him in the egg. So he's really freaking out.
He's like, what the hell?
Exactly. He doesn't know, because he never knew who was sending them these messages. But yeah, and on the little message he gets in the egg, what does it say? It says blood.
Yep.
Doesn't it? And then the teacher comes out with a fucking, 9mm Mac or something and starts blowing away people.
Fucking
she's not worried about hitting those kids either.
No, she wasn't. She was firing away. It was a machine gun, man. She just
And at the same thing, the people that didn't join the rebellion, obviously the old and the sick, are in the back with the Eggman, and he takes out another gun and he ends up
killing them all,
killing everyone, and they end up regaining the control of those back trains because he ends up. Mary pulls it. He dumps the egg bin over, and there's just a bunch of guns, and all the people that were hostages took the guns and start just murder everyone, start massacring. 74%.
Yeah.
Calculate. I don't know who's doing the counting, why he's shooting, because it seems pretty loose the way he's
it's
shooting.
It's hilarious too, because remember when they're slaughtering. I mean, it's terrible, but you remember when they're slaughtering, and the one Asian general guy is walking through, and he's clicking every single time someone dies in the train.
I forgot about it.
Remember that?
He's the one keeping count. Yeah. And he's the one that ends up getting held hostage, and he's yelling, and he's like, "Do something," and then she sees Mason just.
She
she
does
goes
that. She's like,
and then I think it's Edgar who ends up just slitting his throat. Yeah, yeah, I forgot there actually is someone. That's another. They just actually counting,
literally physically counting bodies.
We got to know 74%. Yeah, that's pretty exact.
It has to be down to the number.
It really does. But we also get a little. They did. I like the video of them showing because they showed the 18th anniversary, but they showed Wilford and how he was just a train prodigy.
I guess
ever since he was young,
he really knew how to build trains.
He was obsessed with trains, and even before the world ended, he wanted to make a livable train that you can go around the entire world or whatever. It's not that crazy of a day,
I
really.
don't know. He was talking about his childhood and how he all he ever wanted to do was build a train.
That's
I'm
all
like,
he
dude,
wanted.
You gotta relax, man. You might got a problem.
Was toy trains not enough for this kid? He had to own an actual. Yeah. Anyways, the teacher ends up shooting, and she's just blindly shooting it. But old Gray, who Gray doesn't flinch.
Not at all.
Knife to the fucking teacher's throat, throws it about 30 feet away.
What a shot.
God damn. And that's
I mean, she's shooting the whole time, and then the second she doesn't shoot, they go, now. He just throws a knife right in her neck. Dude, this guy is top of the line. I don't know why he's in scum.
No, you want him up front.
He should be your
He should be
general.
running the train.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's this whole thing where they must have been planning this rebellion for so long. Like, they must have damn near every detail. For him to be like, to point out and tell Gray to go when he needs to go, I'm guessing that, I mean, it's like a prison outbreak. You know, you're just sitting in your cell thinking of 24 hours a day of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So I'm guessing because for Curtis to go, okay, now, and for him to know that Gray's already got a knife ready to go. But yeah, again, a great shot. Just hitting her would have been amazing.
Yeah, would have been.
He sticks
Anywhere
her
in any
kill
capacity,
shot.
yeah.
Teacher goes down, unfortunately, because she was with child.
She was. So that's actually a double murder.
It is a double murder, Gray. You're going away for a while.
Going away double time. Double time, my friend.
But, and to Curtis, again, it's a good thing that he grabs the gun. Smart. Grabs the gun. Also grabs another clip, which, again, I love that they showed that little detail of him where he just doesn't have endless bullets. We know that there's a certain amount, and...
That's the same exact thing I thought when he picked up that second magazine, that clip, and I was like, okay, that's good.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart man. And, yeah, but it doesn't work out so well for Mason.
No.
Because she thinks, Mason is trying to get Curtis to say that she had nothing to do with this, but of course I feel like she kind of knew what was going to happen or what could happen. She's second in command. She knows every protocol.
She knows every trick in the book.
And she could have warned him, obviously, but...
of course she didn't.
Curtis gives her one to the head. Love it.
Right.
I love that she didn't stick around the entire time, and you couldn't keep that nagging bitch around the whole time.
Hell no. And you couldn't trust her either. I mean, at any point she could have turned on you. She could be false leading you. She was a very smart, manipulative person.
And this time she's killing everyone that Curtis loves.
Yeah.
He's already seen his best friend Edgar go down. Now he's seeing a bunch of other people go down. So he gives her one to the dome.
That's all she needed.
Simple.
Yep.
Does the job. No more than that. You got to preserve bullets on this. And at this point, because they also killed one of her bodyguards too. Because remember, the other bodyguard's like watching, and remember when it happens, he doesn't do anything, but he's just staring and like zooms in his face. He's just staring at him. So he wants revenge.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yep.
And he's making his way, but they're on the very back of the train at this point, so they got a little ways to go. They got a ways to catch up.
Long story short, we get that shootout with Curtis and the other bodyguard.
In the sauna.
Well, no, like through the windows.
Remember? Oh, we forgot. That was a really good scene.
Yep.
Yeah, because that guy...
That part was a little fiction-y for me as far as like being able to...
But the aiming was difficult.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, he was shooting like 30 bullets, and then they're like, okay, one apiece. And they both hit, and I'm like, okay.
Well, that was the thing, because the glass is so thick that for him to actually aim shot him.
Well, right.
Because he had to keep shooting straight.
To break the glass.
To break the glass, because he had to keep shooting multiple, because the glass is literally
thick.
Of course, you have to be. It's negative 800
freezing
outside.
outside. Yeah, you're not gonna have paper thin windows.
Yeah. So, but I did like the fact that he was shooting right at that same spot to make that hole because again, that guy's not supposed to be doing that.
No.
I think Wilford had an opinion on that because remember the security guy was like, "You can't do that," and
yeah,
he
and
just
he was covering it up.
Yeah, he was immediately putting the putty in it. Yeah. But the bodyguard ends up fucking knocking that guy out.
He don't
And,
care.
Yeah, but people
That guy's past the point of caring.
people are scared of that guy though.
Yeah.
No one wants to fuck with that guy.
No,
But yeah, so and they end up going to the sauna,
they do.
the sauna train car, and they
So weird because it's like passengers in the sauna or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
guess
weird.
just
It's a
sitting in
weird
there,
car
or
to
no?
have
Yeah.
an entire train car dedicated
dedicated
just
to
to the sauna.
being in a sauna. Yeah, very strange idea, but
But it's a great looking sauna. You gotta
It
admit,
is.
for a train, it's great. But they're all hiding out in the sauna, right? And
they open the door. The bad guys go in. The bodyguard with the two soldiers,
yep.
and they're going in real slow. It's nice and foggy in there, obviously.
is.
You know, all very humid.
And the bodyguard hears a sound.
Fucking turn around. It just lights up this door. Sure enough, just a doctor falls out with a doctor. Did you see him with the doctor vest and all?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was just running by and he heard
I
it
don't
and
know,
jumped
yeah.
in or something. But
And
yeah.
fell out. And,
Although,
and the
was
soldier
it Dr. Vest
freaks
or was
out.
it a bathrobe?
Oh, maybe it was.
It might
a
have been just a
bathrobe.
white, thin, like spa
Oh, okay,
robe. I
maybe
think it might have
was
been a spa
It was
robe.
a spa
yeah.
robe then. But anyway, he falls out, and the other soldier goes, "Hey, you just killed a first-class citizen. I'm gonna report." Boom. Can't even finish. I'm gonna report.
And then he
you.
turns around,
and shoots him.
but there's no bullets.
Yeah,
and
and
he
then
clicks.
and then the second guy and the guy's like, "Whoa! Hey, I didn't see nothing.
Yeah, and I'm like, at that point, that guy, you know he's gonna kill him. Why not just shoot him?
Shoot him." Yeah, and then he's like, "Hold on, let's talk about it. And then that's when they come out and kill the second.
But I
soldier.
love that, man. I love that writing too. The writing is so strong for him to turn around and click,
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, "Fuck, I can't kill this guy," and just throws down the gun. But yeah, and they end up jumping out of there and and they get into a big old tussle. But man, is that guy fucking strong.
He is, and he kills quite a few of them here.
Because
Unfortunately,
Gray
we see-
jumps out, and Gray's beating the shit out of
Mm-hmm.
that guy, but Curtis can't get a shot on him because Gray's in the way.
right, and then Curtis gets knocked out,
Yep,
and then
by the guy.
By the guy.
The guy also knocks Gray out.
And at this time, he had just killed or not killed her, but he had just shot Octavia Spencer.
Yep.
And then
So there's
Gray-
only 3 people left in the
Yeah.
rebellion. The
right
rebellion's
after
not
this
doing
scene,
so great.
because he reaches back and he tries to block the knife, and it gets stuck through his hand, Gray's hand.
And we have to say earlier, William Hurt's character, Sir William Hurt, my bad, Gilliam got shot
Yes,
by this guy that's killing everyone right now. He's
got
kind of
shot in the
taking
head.
matters into his own hands. Again, I don't think he was supposed to kill Gilliam. I think he was a key figure in keeping the sanity
Yes.
down in the back
but this
parts.
guy is just a rogue individual right now.
Well, he
at this
killed his
point.
lover, I'm guessing. I don't know. Either
That's right,
lovers
yeah.
or brothers or
It
something.
was a lover
I
because they
think
were
so,
like
too. I think
leaning
so
up
too.
against each
And
other.
he was very hurt when he got killed. I mean, he was on a death mission. But yeah, they end up fighting, and yeah, I love that scene where he almost stabs Curtis, and Gray comes with the hand.
Yeah.
Big sacrifice, Gray. Big sacrifice.
Sure
that guy
enough, that knife stuck in your hand. He breaks your other hand. You have no defense.
smashes it into your
and-
sternum or whatever it
Yep.
is.
And the bad guy just pushes it slowly into Gray, and he dies within 2 seconds, which is the fastest knife death I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I can only assume what a knife to the heart can do.
It'd still take about a minute of your body convulsing before you die.
yeah.
But I understand.
I know.
It's film. We got to move on. So
Yeah,
we move on, and he's about ready to kill Curtis.
But Yono or Yana,
Yana.
whatever her name is, jumps out, and the other guy. His name is more difficult to
Minsu.
pronounce. Minsu. It's a long name. He ends up beating the shit out of that guy. That
He
guy's
does.
a badass. That
Yeah, he
Minsu
is.
Guy.
The security guys, he's no joke.
He ends up beating the shit out of him, and he's choking him. And then Curtis wakes up, and I love, very real, very brutal. Takes a knife and stabs him
That's
just
a
to
big
make
knife,
sure.
too.
You got to make sure.
You do.
Yeah, that was like one of the knives that they brought from the back, and it was just like a sharp piece of metal, I think, that they
Yeah.
sharpened. But stabs him.
When that guy was dying, did he give kind of a Jack Nicholson grin? I really felt it. You might have to go back and watch it
No,
again, but I was like, man, that's
no,
very
it's
Jack
fair. It's almost
Nicholson
blatant, but
esque.
it's the point where this guy is just insane.
Yeah, he's
'Cause
a
remember,
maniac.
just
Yeah.
kind of smiling like that was like they were almost. Well, you know that they were made or they were born before the world ended.
Mhm.
So I mean, they must have been crazy before this.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But it's the thing where it's like everyone does one job. If you have a job on the train, that's all you do.
Yes.
That's all you know. You can't even because even the guy making the protein packs, he was like a robot. He only did things that for his job. So I'm guessing maybe these guys are the same thing. But yeah, he kills that guy, the guy in the suit.
Right.
You think, my God. But and they end up going past the cart. They end up going to a cart that's like the party cart. It's maybe like it's a club,
Right.
which is cool because again, Will Ferrell, he's thought of everything.
Yeah.
Every goddamn thing, and they end up they're partying it up, and they end up getting to right to the point where they're at the front of the train.
The front, yep. Right before the main gate where they open it. They have one more gate and it goes to the very front.
Yep.
Over the bridge. Yep.
But the security guard, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, Min-soo kind of, well, Curtis talks about first because they're at the gate. He says he's not going to open it. So Curtis is kind of trying to plead with him, and he tells him this very,
Mary throws the Kronos at him, or the
throws
Chronal.
the Chronal at him. And it's revealed through Curtis telling the story that Edgar was a baby back in the day, and that his mother was killed by people with men with knives.
You gotta tell the whole story. The whole story of once they got on. 17 years ago, when they first arrived to the train, they didn't know anything about it. They didn't know what was happening. They got on the train, and they didn't feed them at all for 6 months.
Yes.
Because it was very new, I guess, and they had to kind of preserve and see how much. I'm guessing they just had to gauge how much protein packs they needed to make, so they had to do kind of a number thing. And so there's no food or everything, and they're all trapped on that train, and eventually they. The last resources, they start eating each other.
They start eating the weak.
Resource to cannibalism.
Yes.
And it's
And
great acting by Chris
Chris
Evans. My God.
Well, because he says, and I even know that babies taste better.
We don't get this Chris Evans enough.
Whew.
We do not get this
No, we
Chris
do
Evans. It just shows you never really realize how good an actor he really is. I mean, he's a good fucking actor.
He is.
Yeah,
He's
and
a really
he
good
breaks down and he says, he says that's the worst thing is to know that babies taste better than regular people.
It's dark.
Because he was part of this group that was going around killing people.
Right.
He's part of that group of guys, and
Well, and that's why he went to the pregnant woman, which is Edgar's mom.
Yep.
Because he wanted.
And he killed Edgar's mom.
He killed Edgar's mom. Yeah. And it's revealed that obviously he killed Edgar's mom, and then there was an old man who took the knife from him. Or asked for the knife, and he just assumed that he was going to kill the baby. And Gilliam ends up cutting off his own arm and says, "If you're so hungry, why don't you eat this?"
That, yeah.
And then it started like this passion project, like throughout the whole scum, where other people started to sacrifice their limbs, so that everyone could eat food.
I know,
and then
crazy.
eventually
And
that's when the packets came,
and that's what turned Curtis too.
Into
like, oh my God, there's actually hope, even at the worst, darkest time. People are coming up, cutting off limbs. That's pretty damn humane.
Yeah,
and I honestly can't see humans doing it.
No.
I mean, but this is the best world, and that's what shows that they're so much better than the people up in the front.
Absolutely.
That even at the worst, and they say eventually that they did start feeding him damn near nothing, of course.
Crickets.
They're all starving, and they're all starving to death anyways. But he said, eventually it tapered off and the cannibalism stopped, but that's how it was at the beginning days. And I think, and that's kind of, and that mirrors the beginning days of any post-apocalyptic world. That very start of once people start running out of food, that's when people are willing to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets, and that's what interests me the most is it's what people are willing to do, man.
Yeah.
When people are, you miss a couple meals, that's when the revolution
you can start going crazy.
Oh yeah. But and eventually though he does open the door, or actually the door opens, and they don't even need to blow it up.
No, but hold on because Min-soo. He reveals that he never wanted to open the door. After that, he goes, "Well, that's a really good story, Curtis." He goes, "But I'm not here to open this gate. I'm here to open the gate." He's like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Well, didn't you just say you didn't? Now you do. He goes, "But not this gate. That one." And then he points over.
Because when they saw the seven at the start, remember when
they saw
was
the
like,
plane down there.
Well, first they saw the plane, and he said, because he makes his daughter look. He says, "I want you to look at this." But then he makes her look at the seven also.
Yes.
And he says, "See that lady in front?" And it's hinted at that was his wife. And he says she was an expert on snow and everything, and the climate and everything. And he said that was her wife, or it's not his wife, but he says, so he kind of knows something's up. It's not hinted at, and it's very cool because it all comes together at the end. Because because towards the middle, you're thinking, why was that such an important thing for him to go see? Because it makes it obvious because they are pointing at something when they look down there. So you're like, but what? I was thinking I was going to see a village or something. But later on, we realized that he's been looking at that train that plane every
single
year.
And he's finally starting to see the tail and everything because he could only see the tip of the wing when
I'm guessing the person who led the 7, she must have thought that it was long enough maybe where they could go out, but she obviously didn't have. Obviously, you can't go out of the train to test it.
No.
So
you
she
can't
must
test
have
that theory unless you go yourself.
But she had the theory very early on that the Earth was bouncing back because Wilford's whole thing is the Earth is like this forever. It's frozen now forever, and there's supposed to be no living.
Well, I mean, it also benefits him to do that because he's living like a king.
Because once people start realizing they don't need to be on this train, the train becomes pretty shitty. You don't want to be on the train anymore.
I mean, it's good for like a week vacation if you're, it could be a luxury train.
I've taken a train before on a weekend. During the day just for a couple hours, and it's not great. I do not like train travel. It's not that great. But yeah, he says he's going to open this door, and at this point, the rich are kind of starting to rebel their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to get riled up a bit, and also look who's coming back. Look who pops up from the steam room. Old Suit Man himself. He's not dead.
No, he's not. God, that guy is.
I love when he wakes up and it just shows him from the top half, and then you hear a ting, and he looks down, and my knife's poking out.
Ah, okay. Guess I'll just leave that in there.
Yeah, you got it. That's a smart move, honestly.
Don't pull it out.
Once you die when you pull it out. Yeah. But yeah, and he's like Terminator, man, and he finally makes his way to the front of the goddamn crowd.
I could have swore I heard just like faintly when he came up. Da 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 da. Like damn.
But he's making his way because he's not done yet, and but eventually the doors open, the front of the doors, and who's out there?
The chick in yellow, and she immediately shoots.
Guessing it's Wilford's wife. Guessing he's got to have a wife. Right?
Well, yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Because she's pregnant also.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate, not a good time to be pregnant on the old Snowpiercer.
What is with her with this freaking measuring thing? She measured the bomb.
Chronal
on the door.
I think again, it's the thing where it's like all numbers thing. Mm-hmm. She wanted to know what they were capable of, and maybe how much, so where they could predict how much damage to the train that it could have done.
That's true.
To where they could maybe replace it.
Right.
Because you're exactly right. She immediately starts measuring it. She's like, and then she looks like, oh, that wasn't good. Good thing that they didn't blow that up.
I know. I was so shocked she didn't take it off the door either.
I know. What was that cocky ass fucking front trainers? They just think they got everything.
Yeah, the scum are never going to pull this off.
Yeah, there's no way. They're incapable. They're fucking animals. Yeah. They eat each other. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he brings them in, and we get a great Ed Harris who's just can be in anything.
He's great in anything. Like it's Ed Harris at this point. Like,
honestly,
thumbs up,
it is. You can't. I don't know what else to say besides just saying it's Ed Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna be in.
That's all you need.
Anything
to say.
he's in, he's gonna give it his all, and it's gonna be that role. At least the movie could be shit, but Ed Harris's scene is gonna be great.
Yep.
But it is not the case because the whole movie's good. But yeah, they bring in Ed Harris explains how he knew everything. He's been talking to Gilliam for years,
and how inevitably Curtis, this whole thing has been set up.
It's a test.
It's a test. And him and Gilliam has been back and forth this whole time.
Yep.
And that they have been in cahoots with each other. And Gilliam was only supposed to get to a certain point because of the numbers. And it's revealed to Curtis at this time that all this has taken place.
But to Wilford, it's this whole thing where it's like, when Ed Harris is explaining it, it's like a game. He's like, me and Wilford debated for long. He's like, he thought you can only get this far. He's like, but I thought you get this far or whatever. And he's like, we debated, and he's like, and then he's proud. I mean, I guess he's happy that of course, he plays it off like he's happy that he made it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, but of course, someone does have to take on the train. It's pretty much Willy Wonka.
It is Willy Wonka.
It's a Willy Wonka Charlie. All right, Charlie, you're the last one to survive. You get the fucking factory. No one's left.
Good on you. I'm getting old anyway. I don't want it.
It's Willy Wonka, but it's on a train, and pretty much Wilford is Wonka, and he said, "You brought back the gobstopper. You're fucking in, my guy. Yeah. You're about to run the train." And he kind of even shows him. He shows him the engine which the engine looks fucking awesome. But he also shows him how the engine runs, and it's run on child labor, as any good engine.
Well, he doesn't even necessarily show because Yana she comes in and she's clairvoyant and she sees that the little boy's underneath and she's like clawing at the ground. And at first, Curtis kind of pushes her back and looks at her and you think, oh no, he's evil now. And then he kind of notices what she's doing and he goes down to help her. And then sure enough, we see Octavia Spencer's little 5-year-old boy under there pulling out gunk. And that's when
pulling
Ed
out
Harris-
and bringing it back.
bringing
He's
it
kind of, I
back.
think he's greasing up whatever that is, but
Yeah.
it's just he's just doing that, and he's just doing it for constantly.
And
And
that's
then
where
Curtis-
Ed Harris reveals that it's no matter what, we got to make the train run.
Yep,
That the train can run forever, but the little parts wear out.
exactly.
And that's why they
He's
use
like,
the
and
children.
he's like, they're equipped for little hands.
Mhm.
I don't, because Ed Harris, he comes up and kind of just closes it. He's like, yeah, we'll talk about that. He's like, don't worry about the kid below the train right now. We'll get into that.
Well, I wonder what kind of hours that kid's working. 17, 18 hours a day.
Well, remember the guy who got his arm chopped off? That kid comes out of the fucking cubby hole and
Yes,
he goes straight to
straight
fucking
into
work.
the thing
Yeah.
without even
So
talking.
remember, he's
or
trying to
anything.
talk to him. He's trying to yell
Mhm.
at him. And he goes straight up to wherever he was working. Looked a little
Sad.
better than being under the.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, a little more above ground.
Yeah, but yeah. So Curtis, and that's because it made you believe that Curtis was maybe gonna. Of course.
Yeah.
You go up there, you're gonna be. You go from that's reg to riches, my guy.
It is. It really is. I mean,
You go from the
can't
lowest part of the
complain.
train to running the train.
No, take it. Even if I got to work a
99%,
12-hour shift, I'm taking
99% of people are gonna take it, but
it. Don't feed me those fucking protein bars.
but
Feed me a
Curtis seeing the kid
Mhm.
kind of was like, okay, this is fucked up.
This is it.
Either it has to stop now, no matter what. Either we're all gonna die or we're all gonna somehow live after this. But no matter what, the train has to stop.
And during this time, Nim Soo turns to Yana, and she's like, "Go get the light. Curtis has it."
Yeah,
And obviously she runs there.
and
Yada
Minsu's,
yada with the kid.
not to mention, is beating the shit out of
Yes,
the
out
guy.
of
They're
those-
fighting right
yeah.
now. It's another great fight, and eventually Minsun does end up snapping his neck, and that's the only way you can make sure that that guy's fucking
know, no
dead.
kidding.
I would have took his head off like a
I
fucking
would've too.
vampire.
Definitely.
But yeah, they end up snapping his neck, and I love he just tosses him.
Yeah,
over
toss
the
him over the
side.
side into the gears.
Yeah.
Just crushes him, just like the first guy.
Yep. He's like, all right, get it going. And she ends up
Lighting the
one
bomb.
more match.
Yep.
Because before that, Minsun gave Curtis his last cigarette. Minsun's honestly the fucking hero of this
He
story.
is.
He's just been kind of boiling in his little cubby hole for the last 10 years or whatever. Thinking his wife just died also. But yeah, he's ready to go, man. Minsu's just as crazy as anyone. He says, let's light this bomb up. She lights the bomb up. And it's maybe a little overkill.
I'd say well,
Maybe
we
now I
could've
know
used
what
half
you
of that.
They definitely made a little too much of the chrono bomb. And that
Yeah.
blows up the whole
train.
goddamn train.
Yep. All of it's gone to shit, basically, and then
Yeah.
it crashes.
Curtis does end up beating up Wilford. We got to mention that, which
Yeah, we
is just
do.
satisfying because he does punch old Ed Harris a couple times.
Yeah, he does, for
Poor
good
old-
measure.
yeah. But yeah, they end up blowing up, and it's a huge explosion.
And I love it right before they all hug, and then Ed Harris, he's sitting at the table eating. He goes, "Nice."
Yep.
Boom, and then it explodes.
Well, we got to mention Curtis sacrificed his arm for the kid.
He does, yes.
does
which
the-
is
he
kind of
does-
poetic because
exactly.
the whole time he was talking about how he tried to do that earlier and he never could.
Yep.
He was one of the few who did not sacrifice his arm.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a poetic ending for Curtis.
Exactly, and it kind of shows him that he's gonna go into that if he lived. He's gonna go into that Gilliam role. You
Mhm.
know that because I think you gotta make to be that leader. You gotta make the big sacrifice.
Yes.
You gotta show. I mean, Gilliam, he sacrificed what?
Everything.
Did he have one arm left?
I think
did he
that's
have
it.
2 legs? I don't
I
think he
don't
had 2
think
legs.
he had 2 legs. I know actually
because he
for a
wasn't
fact
hopping
that-
around.
No, he wasn't. No.
So he made that. That's an actual huge sacrifice.
It is.
To actually sacrifice something a part of you. I mean, but yeah, he finally does. He takes the kid, and well, the kid's end up surviving. They end up getting out of the train. The train blows up. Half the train didn't make it.
No.
Again, sacrifices.
A lot of sacrifices being made. Many people dead.
Because unfortunately, they blew up the train at a bad junction
A
of
very bad spot.
Because if
'cause
they
people
went
are
right off a
tumbling
cliff-
down, avalanches.
I was
is-
thinking you couldn't have blown it up. You couldn't have blown it up in a field.
No, the one like we're
You're on the
traveling
side
around
of
the
a
world. Just
cliff.
wait a minute.
But they blow it up, and yeah, half the train's gone. But they end up going out, and they don't freeze to death. And they also see a polar bear, which is a good sign because I don't think there was supposed
Not
to.
really,
Well, I don't think there was supposed to be any life
because
left.
you know that polar bear looked right at him and goes, "There's my
I'm
next meal."
starving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what bears do in real life. People, they're not cuddly creatures like people
No,
think.
not polar bears.
They'll rip you to shreds. Polar bears are the meanest out of all of them.
They're the biggest bear, also.
Yeah, they are.
Second to the Kodiak. Kodiak's a big bear, also. But yeah, and unfortunately, polar bears are all dying.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean,
This is the end.
when Polar Bear saw the big freeze coming, he was like, "This is gonna be good." Finally, the polar bears will reign supreme, and they did. Yeah, they saw. But again, it makes it clear that that there is life and you can live out here and you're not going to die in 30 minutes to freeze to death. And also, they can go back in the train too. You can make a little hut into the train.
Yeah.
So you're good. You got some food too in the train.
Oh, yeah,
you got plenty. You got plenty of protein packs.
Yeah, you do. You got plenty to live off, probably for a year or two.
But again, it's the whole thing where it's like it's not even worth keeping humanity going if they're going to live on that train. You know, that's not the way you want humanity to go because they were just shitty to each other. So if you're going to die, you might as well die a human. Die together in the freezing than have to work with slave labor. But
So,
yeah, that's
Are we? Should we review this?
Yeah, let's give it our reviews.
Alrighty. This was the first time I saw this film. I've been waiting for it for a while. I'll give you the quick one because I gotta bounce soon. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this film. You know, I definitely saw the deeper themes behind this movie. I really like the idea, the way that this film ended even was interesting, and they threw me for a lot of curves, a lot of loops that I didn't see coming. You know, the stereotypical things that you figured they do, like saving Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen at all. It was just Edgar's dead and moving on. And I appreciate movies like that that take a different approach where it's not always everyone always gets saved. So there is sacrifice involved in being leadership, and it showed that with Edgar, Curtis having to sacrifice Edgar for that, and also sacrificing his arm at the end. So it shows, you know, kind of that role that he took to become the next Gilliam. So I really did enjoy this film. I don't really have too many critiques. One of the main critiques I had was the CGI for me fell a little flat. Some of the outside scenes.
Oh yeah,
where they're looking. It felt a little too fake for me.
Oh, I agree. And it was
times.
And this was made in 2013 and on a $40 million budget. Not only that, but it was also a foreign studio. So yeah, totally. But I agree. But in my mind, they use the CGI where they never left the camera on a bad CGI too long. So some CGI was bad, but they moved it immediately. And it's a thing where they were self-aware of what looked better. Because the train moving from a far distance looked good. It looked great. Did. But anytime they zoomed in, the CGI looked.
So for me, I overall, that's my only slight little gripe of the film. But I really like this movie overall. The acting's great. The storyline's great. The dialogue was great. And I never felt bored during this movie. It was always one thing to the next. So for me, I give this film an A-.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites. I love any post-apocalyptic dystopia sci-fi film, and this is just one of the best ones in my mind. It's just super underrated. I feel like. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, I would definitely recommend you go watching it. Yeah, it got amazing reviews.
95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's one of my favorite films. It honestly is one of my favorite sci-fi dystopian films. It's just so good. The writing is so good. The directing is so good. The set pieces are amazing. It's just, it's a really good film. I recommend for everyone. I'll give it a B+.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's our review, guys. Be sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. What did you think of Snowpiercer, the 2014 film starring Chris Evans? You can find our social media pages. Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Cash is on Twitter. That's just Cash. Instagram, Have You Seen It? Facebook, Have You Seen It Podcast. You can find our podcast in audio formats, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus. And until next time.
Bye.